Ladies and gentlemen, I have your guest here. One girl that has been trending in Kenya and the United States equally. Well, the reason being she stood out boldly and asked Rigathi Gachagua very, very tough questions regarding his stance on tribalism, attaining his bid to run as president of the Republic of Kenya. Well, she's here. Please introduce yourself to the
Yes,
audience.
yes. Asante sana. My name is Valentine Githae. I am a member of the 625 movement, the June 25th movement, which we formed here in Washington, D.C. to remember the lives of the young Kenyans who were butchered and killed from last year to this year by the Ruto regime.
Well, so many people remember that day when you stood up in a function where Rigathi Gachagua was addressing a crowd, and the crowd was perceived to be a Rigathi crowd, and then you just stood up and started saying things that were not really palatable to the crowd. What is your take on that, first of all?
My take is the event was not positioned as a Kikuyu event. It was presented as a diaspora engagement. So in my understanding, diaspora engagement means everybody, regardless of tribe. So when we walked in and went into the event, I could notice and see other people who I knew were not from the Kikuyu tribe. I have friends, not everyone is from my tribe. In fact, some of my friends, I can't tell you their last names. I even saw, I think, a white person in there. So for them to start singing, and for them to start singing in Kikuyu and speaking in Kikuyu, while there are other people, felt wrong to me, and that's why I was like, I have to tell them that this is wrong, because you're already blocking other communities in this engagement. Not to say that I am ashamed of Kikuyu, not to say that we should not speak our mother tongue, but we have to be very cautious of how we do it and when we do it.
There is an uproar coming up in the social platforms and now accusing you to have been used by Ruto regime to divide and rule the united opposition. How do you take that?
Okay, that is so, it's funny actually. If you've been following the 625 movement, right? We've been very, very loud in saying Ruto must go. And even in our effort to say Ruto must go, we believe that the next regime, Fagia Wote, means that we need new leadership. So what does having new leadership mean? So many of these leaders are taking our slogans as Gen Zs, but they don't appreciate our values. So me calling out Rigathi Gachagua, Riggy, who's also a beneficiary of this system, does not mean I support Ruto. But we have to call all of them out. We have to know that, let the political class know that we are tired of this divide.
So you have said you are saying Fagia Wote. So now what do we remain with in this united opposition? Because if you say that, that means then that you have some game plan behind it. Do you have any candidate behind you as Gen Zs?
We are sort of, so right now we are looking at listening. We are listening to Maraga and Okio Mutata. And also as Gen Zs, we should start positioning ourselves, like I've said, for these seats come 2027. And we should also register to vote. Otherwise, this will be for nothing.
Yeah, but when you talk about Maraga, that is a retired general. That's a person who is retired already. It's not even actively anywhere, and not anywhere near Gen Z. If you look at Okio Mutata, he's been there in this activism game for quite a long time. We do not see them as part of Gen Zs. Which role do you play there? Where are you as Gen Zs?
Gen Zs is also a mindset, right? So, and like I said, we are listening, or at least I am listening to them. I'm not saying this is per se my candidate, But in my understanding, they are better than Ruto, Gachagua, Matiang'i, Raila Amolo Odinga, Mudavadi, or any other legacy politician that has been there.
Okay, so how do you engage these people? You are Gen Z spread all over the world. You don't have a formal meeting anywhere. How do you coordinate this discussion so you arrive at a decision?
Well, we are using the platforms that are available to us, such as social media. That's why you see the government trying so hard to pass bills, to use social media to sanction and to silence our voices and to call us terrorists, because they are threatened by the power of social media. Because if we decide to do grassroots, they bring their goons. The political class right now has the monopoly of violence, and they're using that against us.
So, Val, in doing all this, I have a question, and everybody is wondering, where do you get the energy from? Like, where do you get the fearlessness? Because everybody out there is, people are in fear. Yet you people speak boldly as well. There's nothing to fear. Where do you draw that fearlessness from?
I think for me is there's coming to America if I didn't get the chance, which actually it's the failed systems that made me come here to America, right? There's an anticipation of me wanting to go back home. And we are tired of the systems. We are tired of knowing that if you have no money in Kenya, you can't get healthcare, right? You really have to pay first before you get treated. Access to justice. Sometimes you have to know people or have money. We don't have a strong judicial system. We have a broken legislature that will favor themselves over us. And when you look at our country right now, the trajectory that we are going in, if we keep going on like this, there will be no country for our children and our children's children. Either it's debt, either it's corruption, either it's fueled tribal politics. So until we do this for the greater good, until we realize, like for me, I've realized this is not about me anymore. I've realized it's bigger than me. I've realized there is more to this. Like when you think about the Mashujas, right? The ones who died last year, and you think about the Mau Mau, they realized there was a greater cause. And we can't afford to have anyone's lives lost in vain. If Ruto wants to come for me, you can come for me. If Gachagua, you want to come for me, you can come for me. If all of you want to come for me, you can come for me. But Kenyans are realizing that the fundamental issues and the foundations of our country that have been perpetuated by the colonial regime are being used through tribal politics by our leaders to divide us. Again, I repeat, embracing your tribe is not a bad thing. It just becomes very dangerous when it's meant to divide us. Saisi Ruto na Uhuru wamekuwa marafiki. So walikuwa wamekosana, Uhuru akatuambia Ruto ni mbaya. Sahi Uhuru ako na scandal ya expressway, amerudi kwa Ruto kujiprotect.
Wow. So that is how fearless you get because of all these things. You're saying you're tired. There's nothing to fear anymore.
There's nothing to fear at this point.
All right. I have to give you an opportunity to challenge the youth, the young people out there.
The political class is trying to divide us because they have realized we are challenging their status quo. What does challenging their status quo look like? It looks like them not having enough money to steal, and that is why they are upset. If there is change in Kenya, if a few people are not, if they want most of us to suffer because that's where they benefit from. And if we divide ourselves as Gen Zs, actually, if we continue to divide ourselves as Kenyans, Ruto will leave, yes, or become president. But one thing we have to know is even if Ruto becomes president, we have to be very cautious who we are electing to be Kenyan president. Hatuwezi toa Ruto, tuweke mtu mwingine mbaya tu kama Ruto, ama slightly mzuri kuliko Ruto. We need system changes. But we also, to get here, we need to embrace a spirit of nationalism over a spirit of tribal politics. We requested a church in Baltimore to host us so that we can remember our young heroes properly. But the church refused. But the church gave Rigathi Gachagua, here in the diaspora, a platform to speak. Very disappointed with the church. Right now in Kenya, there is a spirit of lawlessness. The Shakahola massacre. Where is the church? Where they've been quiet. They are not pushing this hard as they should. Because the church seems, and it's not all of the church, but they are quiet, and silence is complacency. You know what baffles me? Some of the nastiest articles that have been written about me have been written by men of the cloth, the church. So where does the church fall in this movement? Where does the church place us, Gen Zs, young millennials, and everyone in the country who wants to see change? I'm telling the church now, you need to step up for our country. You need to do more. You need to be the voice of the unheard, and you need to stand with the truth, no matter how it looks. You need to stand for justice, and you need to stand for equality. Don't use your platforms or your religious platforms to perpetuate the propaganda of the political elite. We've seen how that is working out and how it played.